Hi everyone, this is Brian Hayes, and welcome to a discussion on how to add the growl effect to the saxophone. The growl effect on saxophones is the same concept as when an electric guitar player turns a distortion effect pedal on and off. If you're not sure what I mean by that, check out my tutorials on introducing the electric guitar, both Volume 1 and Volume 2. Towards the end of those tutorials, I play a short blues track both on the ES345 Gibson semi-acoustic electric guitar and the Bill Lawrence solid body Stratocaster electric guitar. And on both of those tracks, I run the electric guitar through various effects, one being a distortion effect. It'll become very clear to you if you listen to those tracks that the sound of my guitar is deliberately distorted. Now, in the saxophone world, I really can't think of a rock and roll or blues or contemporary saxophone player, alto or tenor, that doesn't use the growl as an automatic part of their playing style at some time or other. So whether that was Bobby Keys with the Rolling Stones, Clarence Clemmons with the E Street Band backing Bruce Springsteen, the great Tom Scott, the LA Express famous session musician in Los Angeles, Dave Sanborn on alto sax. The growl is just a very big part of Dave's standard sound on the alto sax. Lenny Pickett on Saturday Night Live. The list goes on and on. The great Boots Randolph, who played saxophone with Elvis Presley and continued on a very lengthy, successful saxophone career, the growl was an absolute huge part of Boots Randolph's sound. And he would turn it on and off as appropriate to the music that he was playing. So, check out any and all of those great saxophone names that I just mentioned, and you'll definitely hear the growl within 30 seconds or so of their playing. So, how do we produce a distortion effect on the saxophone? The answer is incredibly simple, and it's easy to do, but until you get the hang of it, it can be a bit tricky. What we do is simply hum and play at the same time. The introduction of the hum creates a disturbance in the air column as it enters the saxophone mouthpiece. It distorts the air column that the saxophone is receiving, and hence the tone on the saxophone becomes distorted. Now, I'll demonstrate the effect in a moment for you on the tenor saxophone, but the principle applies to all of the saxophones. Whether you play soprano, alto, tenor or baritone, the same concept applies, and if you want to introduce the growl effect, you simply hum at the same time as you play. So let's do a preliminary exercise before we try this on the saxophone. After 4, I'll count 4, and then I want you to just form your saxophone embouchure, but we haven't got the mouthpiece, so we'll have a gap in our lips. And I want you to just blow air out through the centre of your lips as you would if you were playing a note on the saxophone, like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So hopefully you can hear the rush of air coming out through my lips. The next thing I want you to do is to just hum. I'm assuming at some point in your life you have hummed before. And hum just simply means keep your lips closed and sing with your voice, like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you would have heard a sound being created by my voice box, but because I kept my lips closed, it was a different sound than you would hear if I just sang da with a singing voice. Now, obviously, if we are to play the saxophone, we need to have air coming out between our lips to excite the reed into vibration so that we can actually play the saxophone as we have to make the notes work on the saxophone. So what we've got to try and do is hum with our mouth open while we're pushing air through. And this is the tricky bit. I'll use a tissue to demonstrate. In the first example, when I asked you to blow air through your lips like playing the saxophone, if I hold the tissue in front of me, just over here to the side, you'll notice that the tissue moves quite considerably by the breath coming out of my mouth. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can see the tissue there blowing like the curtains as a breeze comes through the window in a house. If I hum, obviously the tissue won't move at all, no matter how close I put it to my mouth. Because there's no air coming out of my lips. The trick is to hum a low note and blow air out of your mouth, like this. You can see the tissue moving there virtually the same as it did in the first example. So, try that with me. It doesn't matter what note you actually produce. In many ways, the lower the better. We are definitely not trying to sing the same note that we're playing on the saxophone. Remember, the saxophone in its normal configuration can play from low B flat to high F above high C. That's without any trick fingerings, no altissimo, no tricking the saxophone into playing a wider range. That's 2.5 octaves. Very few of us saxophone players have a singing voice that can reach 2.5 full octaves, and certainly not the same 2.5 octaves of, for example, the baritone saxophone or the soprano saxophone for that matter. So it's not a matter of trying to match your singing voice to the pitch that you're playing. All you're doing is introducing a low-level hum, just a constant hum, because any note will achieve the objective of disturbing the air column as it enters the saxophone. Okay, so try it with me one more time after 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. So you can see the tissues getting blown all over the place. That's enough wind coming through to play the saxophone. Let's now apply that to the tenor saxophone and see what we end up with. Okay, so I'm going to use the note A on the tenor saxophone, and I'm going to play the A above the stave, so I've got the octave key engaged for this note A. Now, first of all, I'll just play that A with a normal tone on the saxophone. And now I simply do what we demonstrated and worked on with the tissue. I now just hum any note, any low-pitched note that is comfortable with my voice. And as I introduce the hum, you'll hear the tone of the saxophone changes radically to sort of an angry, distorted sound. So here's the normal tone. And now I'll hum and play at the same time. And I'm sure you've heard that sound on the saxophone many, many times. If you are interested in the blues, in jazz, in pop, in rock, you cannot escape that distorted sound on the saxophone, particularly when the players are playing solos. And I'll just play a few notes now, both without the growl, and then I'll add the growl in. And I'm sure you've heard these sounds before. So that's the clean sound. I'll just growl now. I'll hum at the same time. There's a huge difference. And if you're playing in a rock band or any type of music where that sort of real expression, the cry of the blues is required, it's absolutely mandatory that you can use the growl and have command of it in a musical setting. It's important not to overthink this technique. It's incredibly simple. We're not trying to sing the notes that we're playing as we play the saxophone. It doesn't matter what note we hum. the lower the better, and the easier to produce, the better for you when you're playing. So it's not a matter of rasping your throat. You are simply going any pitch at all. But again, the importance of this. The importance that the air continues to come out strongly through your lips once you introduce that low-level hum. I hope that's been of interest to you. As always, keep in touch via my website, www.brianhayes.biz. That's B-I-Z. Drop me an email if you have any fundamental questions about playing the saxophone, and subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you stay in touch as I upload new videos on the many instruments that I play and teach. Just to fade out this tutorial, I'll put a clip up of me playing a solo against a blues band, just a simple blues, and in that solo I naturally use the growl as I hear the notes in my head that I'm improvising. Bye for now.